On the final day of the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan, Eileen Gu stood at the top of the halfpipe in Livigno, Italy. She had already won 2 silver medals at these games. The gold in the halfpipe, the event she had defended from Beijing, was the last thing left. Her first run she had bailed out of. She went to the corral and found her mother Yin, who was born in Beijing. Her mother looked at her and said, "You have landed this run 5 times in training. It is there. Stop thinking so much. I am not nervous. You will be fine." She went back up. She skied the second run of her life. 94.00 points. Clean. Commanding. The kind of run that showed the world exactly what she said she wanted to show them. A glimpse of what she had been doing for 4 years. On her third run she did it again. 94.75, the gold medal was hers. She stood on the podium at the end of the Olympic program. Defending champion. 6 Olympic medals across 2 games. 3 golds. 3 silvers. 6 events, 6 medals. The most decorated freestyle skier in the history of the Olympic movement, man or woman. And then she went to the press conference. And she broke down completely. Her grandmother Guozhen Feng had died. Not after the race. During it. While Eileen was in the halfpipe scoring 94.75 and defending her Olympic title, her grandmother was leaving the world. She found out right after the run. Right after the gold. And she sat in front of reporters with tears running down her face and said she had promised her grandmother she was going to be brave. Like her grandmother had been brave. She kept that promise. In the most painful way possible. Let us start at the very beginning of this story because Eileen Gu is someone most people think they understand and almost nobody actually does. She was born on September 3, 2003 in San Francisco, California. Her mother Yen is Chinese. Her father is American. She grew up in San Francisco bilingual, bicultural. And by her own description deeply connected to both sides of her identity. Her grandmother Guozhen Feng, who died the day of the halfpipe final, lived in Beijing. Eileen spent summers there as a child. Her grandmother is where a significant portion of her Chinese identity was rooted, not in politics or federations or endorsement deals. In a grandmother in Beijing who loved her. She started skiing at 3 years old on weekend trips with her family. At 9 she became the junior group champion in the USA Snowboard and Free Ski Association. By 13 she had moved into senior competition. She was extraordinary from the beginning. Technically gifted, fearless on the mountain, with a capacity for learning new tricks under pressure that coaches described as almost unprecedented at her age. In 2019, at 15 years old, she made the most consequential decision of her life. She chose to compete for China rather than the United States. This decision has followed her everywhere since. In America it made her controversial. In China it made her a superstar. And the conversation about it has almost never been fair to the full complexity of what was actually happening when a 15-year-old girl with a Chinese mother and an American father, who spent her summers with her grandmother in Beijing, chose to represent the country she felt most needed her. She did not abandon America. She connected to China. Those are different things. And the reaction she received, the hostility from parts of the American sports media, the political weaponization of her choice, the way she was used as a symbol by people on all sides of a debate she never signed up to represent, is one of the most unfair things that has happened to any young athlete in recent sports history. She was 15. She loved skiing. She loved her grandmother. She made a choice. And she has been answering for it ever since. The 4 years between Beijing 2022 and Milan 2026 were not smooth. Not even close. At Beijing in 2022 she was 18 years. And she swept 3 freestyle skiing events, winning gold in big air and halfpipe and silver in slopestyle. The most decorated single Winter Games performance in freestyle skiing history. She became the youngest Olympic freestyle skiing champion ever. She became the first woman to land a forward double cork 1440 in competition. She left Beijing as the most dominant and most talked about winter athlete on the planet. And then everything got complicated. She enrolled at Stanford University where she studied quantum physics, joined Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority, and did an exchange semester at Oxford University's Magdalen College. She signed luxury brand endorsements with Louis Vuitton and Tiffany & Company. She appeared on the covers of Vogue and Elle. She modeled. She ran a marathon as part of the Paris 2024 Olympic opening ceremony. She balanced all of it simultaneously while maintaining her identity as a competitive elite athlete preparing for a second Olympics. She also sustained 2 significant injuries in the seasons between the Games. A knee injury in 2023 that forced her to withdraw from the Winter X Games. Recovery. Rebuilding. Returning. And then recovering again. She arrived in Milan as the only free skier competing in all 3 disciplines: halfpipe, slopestyle, and big air. No other athlete attempted it. She had not competed in a single big air competition since winning the Olympic title in 2022. For years without competing in that specific event. She had not skied halfpipe in 2 months before the Games because of competing in slopestyle. The schedule was physically and logistically impossible for anyone who was trying to do less than everything. And Eileen Gu was trying to do everything. From the very first day in Milan, the tone was set. In slopestyle, she crashed on her first run. She had to deliver on her second. She did. She skied what she later called the best slopestyle run of her life, a personal best score. And she won silver. Just 0.38 points behind Switzerland's Mathilde Grimaud. A margin of less than half a point separating her from gold. In big air, she revealed in her post-event interview that she had learned an entirely new trick, a left-side double cork 1260, in training days before the competition. She had not competed in big air in 4 years. She walked into the contest, landed a brand new trick under Olympic pressure, and won silver. Then came halfpipe qualification. She fell on her second jump in her first run. With only 2 runs available in qualification, she had to nail the second. She did, scoring 86.50 for 5th place overall. She stood at the bottom and said she was annoyed that she keeps doing this to herself but was happy she made it through. She then said her falling is a very strange phenomenon and she would love to get to the bottom of it. That quote. Said by someone who had just fallen at the Olympics for the 3rd time in 2 weeks, who had a grandmother sick in Beijing, who had not slept enough and not trained enough in the halfpipe and was about to compete in the final that could make her the most decorated Olympic free skier in history. That quote is who Eileen Gu actually is. Annoyed at herself. Curious about the problem. Ready to do it anyway. The night before the halfpipe final, she wrote in her journal. She wrote about self-belief. About the love of sport. About pouring herself into the sport. About having the run of her life and representing her life and her life's work at the moment it counts. She described what sport is to her as a really beautiful dance between passion and years of dedication, hope and despair and ecstasy. She said what she wanted more than anything was just to show the world a glimpse of what she had been doing the last 4 years. She went to sleep. She did not know yet about her grandmother. Her grandmother was still alive. The final was postponed 1 day due to weather. 1 more day of waiting. 1 more day of managing everything she was managing. On the final day, February 22, 2026, the last day of Olympic competition at Milan, she went first out of 5 in the final. She bailed her first run after landing low on her opening jump. She went to the corral. She found her mother. Her mother said 5 words. Stop thinking so much. You will be fine. She went back up. She skied the run. 94.00, and then she went again. 94.75. The gold medal was hers. She defended the halfpipe title. She became the most decorated Olympic free skier who has ever lived. 6 events. 6 medals. Every one of them gold or silver. No bronze. No fourth place. No DNF. 6 medals across 6 Olympic events across 2 games. And then she went to the press conference and found out her grandmother was gone. She said she did not promise her grandmother that she was going to win. She said she promised her she was going to be brave. Like her grandmother had been brave. Her grandmother's name was Guozhen Feng. She was the link between a girl born in San Francisco and the country she chose to represent. She was the Beijing summers and the language and the food and the connection that a 15-year-old made a decision based on and has never apologized for. She died while her granddaughter was in the halfpipe defending an Olympic title. Eileen Gu sat at the press conference with tears on her face and a gold medal around her neck and said the things that you say when someone is gone before you could share the moment with them. She said she knew her grandmother was watching. She said she felt her grandmother's presence. She said she kept the promise. She was brave. The room was quiet in the way rooms go quiet when something true is happening inside them. After the games she went directly to Milan Fashion Week. She had modeling commitments. She had obligations that had been scheduled months in advance that do not pause for grief or gold medals. She honored them. Because that is what Eileen Gu does. She does everything she said she would do. She does not drop things. She does not choose one version of herself at the expense of the others. She is a quantum physics student and a professional model and an Olympic champion and a Stanford sorority member and a girl who spent summers with her grandmother in Beijing and honored a promise to be brave on the last day of the 2026 Olympics. She is 22 years old. She has 6 Olympic medals. She leaves Milan as the most decorated Olympic freeskier in history. She is heading back to Stanford to finish her degree. She is a model. She has a plan for what comes next that involves, by her own description, global beneficial impact. She also carries a loss with her now that arrived at the worst and most extraordinary moment. On the day she became the greatest in the history of her sport, her grandmother left. And somewhere between those two facts is the full picture of who Eileen Gu is. Not the controversy. Not the nationality debate. Not the sponsorships or the fashion covers or the quantum physics coursework. A girl who promised a brave woman she would be brave. Who was? Who kept her promise? Who is going to carry that promise forward for the rest of her life? Her grandmother did not get to see the gold medal in person. But she got to see her granddaughter be brave. One more time.